I've had so many amazing wildlife encounters on Monterey Bay. I mean, starting with my first whale watch here, I went out, we saw a blue whale, which I didn't know you could even see near land. It turns out, of course, they feed near land, but I didn't know that. I thought you had to go out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean to see a blue whale. Saw a breaching humpback that breached like 30 times, and I saw 2,500 common dolphins that stayed with the boat for 45 minutes. So I was immediately hooked by just sort of an average whale watch on Monterey Bay. One of the most amazing things that I've ever seen has been actually, it's happened several times, interactions between humpbacks and killer whales. I was the naturalist on a boat that found humpbacks following the killer whales that were hunting a gray whale calf that the BBC on a different boat arrived later and filmed the rest of the encounter. But I was on the boat that got there first, and we were watching 8 humpbacks following this family of killer whales, chasing this gray whale mother and calf, and we were actually pretty far offshore. That typically happens near land, but this was out in the middle of the bay. And it was just amazing. These humpbacks were trumpeting and tail slashing in the general direction of the killer whales, even though they weren't getting right next to them that I ever saw. And this went on for hours. So we were there for about an hour and a half. The other boat arrived and filmed it and stayed with them for several more hours. And it just went on and on as these killer whales finally killed this gray whale calf, and the humpbacks stuck around, I think, even after the mother gray whale had left. I think that's how the story goes. But just seeing that for the first time, humpbacks going after killer whales and being so obviously agitated, because most of the time they're just diving to get down to the food, and then they come up for air and then they dive back down. And it's generally pretty calm. They were staying at the surface and just splashing and trumpeting all the time, and obviously following these killer whales as this whole hunt moved around. And then I've seen that a few times since, most notably on the small boat that I run now. About a year and a half ago, or maybe it was 2 years ago, it's still so fresh in my mind. We got out there on this glassy morning, and there was a huge raft of sea lions. And we spotted killer whales going after some of these sea lions, and noticed that the sea lions hadn't realized what was happening, but there were humpbacks feeding in the general area. And then the killer whales started going after the sea lion. The sea lions started scattering in different directions, and whole groups of sea lions would swim away and then start coming back and lifting their heads, looking like, what's going on? And these humpbacks started paying attention to the killer whales and started sort of gathering around them. And it kind of goes in slow motion for a long time. You have to be really patient and watch, because these dramas aren't necessarily all at human pace. They're slower. Things happen underwater, and then you see some of it at the surface and then it disappears. But what happened over the course of this hour was that these humpbacks just gathered and started following the killer whales around as they were trying to hunt these sea lions. And then the sea lion groups would split and come back and sort of were looking around, and we're thinking, why are these stupid sea lions looking? But it's because the killer whales already had a sea lion. So they're trying to eat their sea lion, and these humpbacks keep chasing them, giving them a hard time, and eventually the whole thing went under our boat. We were sitting there at a very good, respectful, safe distance with the engines off, making no noise, just watching, and everything just turned toward us, and the humpbacks chased these killer whales. They ducked under the boat to come up on the other side. The humpbacks turned, and one went over here and did this big tail slash over behind us and came up trumpeting, and another humpback was over there. And the killer whales, the mom and the juvenile, were sort of regrouping over here. It was amazing to have that come toward us, and we know they knew where the boat was. I think there was just enough water motion that I know they could hear us. And it seemed that the killer whales were actually using our boat as a screen, put something between them and these big bullying humpbacks. That was, and any time whales come close is incredible. And when you're on a small boat that's low to the water, you're so close when they come close to us. You get such an amazing sense of how big they are. And having this drama happen right under us, we were all just going, oh my gosh, I can't believe that just happened. It was so exciting. And I've had other experiences where whales have come up to check out the boat, not during interspecies interactions. They just come over to look. Whole family of killer whales, circle the boat and then duck under and come up next to us, and others that come away from their group pop up next to the boat to look at us and then go back to the group. And I've had a humpback come and spend 15 minutes while the boat is sitting just stationary in the water. This humpback just comes up next to us, disappears, rolls, comes up under the other side of the boat, just barely touching us and looking for 15 minutes, just checking us out. So those are really the ones that stand out in my mind. Anytime you get that curiosity, or just being lucky to be the thing that's in the way that they want to use. Getting a close pass is always the most exciting thing.